So it so happened I was first out the rest of the war. So we got into, it seemed like our company took a lot of small villages and stuff like that, and we'd go into the woods and you might find a cow hanging on the tree limbs and so forth, and the steam was coming off of it, so they hadn't been there shortly before that. So we just kind of chased them as we, they'd get up a little earlier than we would and take off, and then we'd take off after them. And every once in a while they'd stop and give us a little trouble. But we got into, we went into Aachen, and we were there for 2 or 3 days, and the German Luftwaffe still had some active planes and so forth. And anyhow, this while we were there, this B-24, we heard it coming over, sizzling, and it was making a lot of noise. And we looked up, and they shot it out of the sky, and they landed about a block or so from where we were staying. And we started to run over there, see if there was anything we could do. Well, then the 50 caliber machine gun started going off and sounded like popcorn popper. Anyhow, we looked back in the sky, and these 2 guys were coming down in parachutes, so they got out of it. But while we were there, our division didn't wear any shoulder patches.
What division were you in?
35th Division. And so anyhow, while we were there in Aachen, we sent a 3-man scout team across the Rhine River, and the Germans captured them. And they sent back flyers the next day. They sent them over, and they just kind of poofed. That was kind of poofing, making noise. And all these leaflets started coming down, and they said, "Welcome, 35th Division. We knew where you were all the time." We were evidently supposed to be. Supposedly, I heard that we were one of Patton's prize divisions. Why, I don't know, but we were. And so then we, by that time, I'd been in France and so forth for, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. And we zigzagged back across France. I could tell by the map. And we went over to Liège, Belgium. Is it Belgium or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Holland.
Yeah, we hit that town. We're supposed to have liberated it. People were very happy to see us and so forth, and we just kind of then went back out of Brussels, out of Holland, and got back into France. But in the meantime, we just took a break, I guess, and so they said anybody wanted to go to Brussels that weekend, that they could do it, because we were going to be there for the weekend. So it so happened that a night or two before that, we went in this house and caught some Germans down in the basement. And right at the top of the, I remember right at the top of the basement, right at the top of the stairs, there was a brand new P-38, which I wanted to pick up in the worst way and take it with me, but you had to carry everything on your back, so I didn't do it. So we went downstairs, and here's about 5 or 6 German troops. And so we lined them up on the wall, and I see what they had in their pocket, I guess. And so I talked to this one officer, and I said, give me your billfold. He says, nix, officer. I said, give me your damn billfold or I'll hit you with this butt of this rifle. So he finally gave it to me, and I took the money out of it and gave it back to him. And it so happened that there was $137 in Holland Gullens. It amounted to $137 in American money, which was a lot of money at that time. So that weekend when they asked anybody who wanted to go to Brussels, I said, yeah, I'll go. And I took 2 of my buddies. We went to Brussels for the weekend and had a ball. And we ate in a real fine upper-class restaurant with a bunch of officers and so forth in there. We were PFCs. But anyhow, we had a lot of fun, as you can imagine. And then we went back and joined the outfit. And when we got back, they said, oh, by the way, there was about 85% VD in Brussels. So we took precautions. And so then we started out again. And we got up. We zigzagged, like I said, we zigzagged across France. And we ended up going across the Rhine right before Dusseldorf, and we went into Dusseldorf. And we were on our way in, and they were still fighting in Dusseldorf, and we were dispersed about 20 feet apart, and I fell, and the guy in back of me said, "Are you hit? Are you hit?" I said, "No, damn it, I sprained my ankle." So I got up and kept going, and it hurt like hell. It swelled up like you can't believe. And so I hobbled along on that thing for about 3 weeks, and of course you don't go back to the medics unless they see blood. And I didn't want to leave the outfit anyhow because I'd left the guys I was with. So I hobbled around for about 3 weeks before it finally straightened up.
On a sprained ankle?
On a sprained ankle. It was really sprained. And I would come to find out that several years later, like 30 years later, I guess, or 40, I sprained my ankle again one time, and the guy took an x-ray of it, the doctor took an x-ray, and he says, you broke a bone in your leg, your ankle sometime or other. Did you know that? And I said, well, no, I didn't. But evidently it happened that time we was going into Dusseldorf. But I didn't know it at the time, but I knew it hurt like hell. So anyhow, side light to Brussels, or to Dusseldorf, the lieutenant in charge of our squad, we were going from door front to door front in downtown Brussels. And before that, he said that morning, he says he'd been through hell through the bulge, before the bulge and so forth, and seen a lot of action. And he'd never been injured. So he told me that day, he says, I'm going to get a Purple Heart tonight. I said, well, good luck. You know, you can have all you want. I don't want them. And that's about it. So we went from door front to door front in Dusseldorf. And somebody threw a bazooka in the street. And it splattered. And we were right together. And a piece of shrapnel hit him in the knee. I didn't get hit. But so then afterwards he says, see, I told you I got to get a Purple Heart tonight. And he did. I even called him probably 40 years after, 30, 40 years after that. He lived out in Washington. I said, Lieutenant, I said, you remember when you said you were going to get a Purple Heart that night? And he said, yeah, I do. He remembered it. Then we left there and just zigzagged across to Germany. We were going up the road, and no American troops had been up there. And here comes here's some of these, about 4 or 5 of these trucks that serviced heavy equipment, heavy guns and so forth. And they were expensive trucks because they done all the repairing of those cannons and so forth. And they stopped there where we were, and we said, hey, we haven't been up there. Nobody's been up there. And this guy said, driving the truck, he said, well, our commander didn't think we got close enough to the front lines to service equipment. I said, well, good luck. So they went on, and about an hour later, all this shelling took place, and there was a factory up there where they were heading, and the Germans found them, and they started bombing, throwing 88s at them. And they tore those trucks all to hell and killed some of the guys and so forth. And by the time we got up there, they were a mess. It was a mess. And but that's just one thing that happens during the war that, you know, you can't predict. Or there was a lot of mistakes in the war, really. But so